What's up, everybody? Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video. And in this video, we gotta talk about the Phantom versus the Vandal, specifically what pros in what regions are preferring either weapon, talk about the strengths and weaknesses of both, and talk about which weapon you should be using in your games. But the GameLeap website is the best place if you want to quickly climb and dominate the ladder, climbing to Diamond, Immortal, or even Radiant. You gotta go check out our advanced guides right now down below. Now, in the Phantom versus Vandal debate, oftentimes the Phantom is hailed as the gun that is better on paper or just a better gun altogether, and the Vandal is a gun that feels better, is more comfortable, and is a gun that just has highlight moments, and it's not as good, but it is fucking cool. Now, that being said, the easiest way to actually break this myth or challenge this myth is look at pro pick rates and what the pros are doing. Because a pro isn't going to play something just because it looks or feels cool. They're going to play something only because they think it gives them the best chance of winning. Now, there was some information gathered and a recent gun choice diagram right here from the Vandal versus the Phantom in different regions. So if we start at the bottom and we look at Brazil and North America, it's about a 50-50 split. If you're only looking at NA Valorant, you're gonna see about 50% of the time is Phantom and 50% of the time is Vandal. Now, if you look at that alone, you can't just come up to the conclusion that the Phantom is better if both guns are getting about the same pick rate, but that's not every region, but I'm gonna get to that in a second. Typically, the most powerful thing that the Phantom offers for players is the ability to spray through smokes and consistently punish enemies from trying to lurk through smokes, push through smokes, and you get a lot of free potential value without giving up your position, plus you have a larger magazine to do so. And the Vandal gives players more consistency in long-range duels, and of course, the ability to one-tap from further ranges away. But let's actually shift it up and look at some of the other regions. What are the other regions doing as far as weapon choices? And if we look at Japan, only 39% of people in Japan are choosing the Phantom, and 61% are choosing the Vandal. In Korea, it's the same. In Europe, it's 66%, even higher, are choosing the Vandal. And in Turkey, it's fucking 73% of players are using the freaking Vandal over the Phantom. So when we actually zoom out here, we see that the Vandal has a little bit or quite a bit more pick rate in a lot of other regions besides North America and Brazil if you look at it from top down. In addition to this, in the past, the Phantom pick rate has been much higher. So it seems that the Vandal is now eating away in some of the regions like North America and Brazil, bringing it down to 50-50 when it wasn't that way before. And now it's also eating a lot of the pick rate in other regions. But many ask the question, why did this happen? Why is the Phantom all of a sudden taking a slight backseat, especially in a lot of these other regions, compared to the Vandal? Well, I think one of the most important things that happened is specifically the introduction of some of these maps where the Vandal really shines on. I think the Vandal shines incredibly well on a map like Icebox or a map like Breeze in comparison to the Phantom. That doesn't mean you can't get the same value, but imagine you're playing defense on Breeze trying to hold long tube, challenging or holding that with something like the Vandal trying to get a headshot or a burst and then dashing away or getting out with like chamber utility or whatever the case may be is feasible, but doing it with the Phantom just adds in a certain amount of unreliability. And you could really take that concept and apply it to a lot of the different points on freaking Breeze or even supports on Icebox or other maps as well. The Phantom is going to be a superior weapon when you're playing in and around smokes. You're fighting people in mid to close ranges around the point. You're utilizing the large mag and the spray or recoil control, however slight advantage you get in those regards in the point and in the mid fight. But when those situations happen less than some of these longer range engagements, players are going to be flocking more and more to the Vandal, more and more to that consistent one-tap ability and long-distance firepower. Now, I think that this really helps break down the idea that Phantom is far and away better, but I also don't want to paint the picture that Phantom is far and away worse either, especially when we're talking about ranked. Something that the Phantom is incredibly good at, we talked about it before, is spraying through smokes and punishing people in and around smokes, but pro players are far more disciplined at not doing things like this, especially standing around smokes, standing in smokes, hiding in smokes. These are things that can happen at a lot of different ranks, especially when you go lower down. There's a lot of players that think that a smoke gives them some sort of protection because players don't spray it, don't check it. But the Phantom gives you that flexibility, that option to clear areas that you can't even see for nearly no cost. And that's one of the big benefits that I think that Phantom users can abuse in ranked and get a lot of free value out of it. And another big factor that comes up a lot, or one of the biggest complaints that people say, is they don't get consistent headshot dinks with the Phantom, but the Vandal will kill. Like if they get that 149, they're incredibly frustrated. Now, there's a couple of problems that I see here. The first big one that I see is players have really low discipline on the Phantom as opposed to the Vandal. Because the Phantom is quote unquote easier to spray, easier to control, and at the same time, it has a larger mag, players are using the Phantom not for the consistent one taps, but they're using it as if it's something that they could just spray bullets in the general direction of the enemy and get value with it. Specifically, the Vandal is more of a trial by fire, right? If you're not being consistent with your crosshair placement, with your taps or your small burst, with your movement, you're going to whiff and you're not going to be able to get any kills at all with the Vandal. So it forces you to actually have a certain amount of discipline that the Phantom will forgive you for. So people take that gift that the Phantom is giving them, that forgiveness, and they abuse it, and then they don't get the value out of it that they want to, when you need to be applying the same fundamentals. I know that that's difficult to do, but it's incredibly important that you have the same amount of gunplay discipline on the Phantom as the Vandal, or else you're setting yourself up for failure. And in that sense, I think that in some ways, the Vandal might be the better weapon to learn with or become better with. It's like when you really master the Vandal, it's really easy for you to swap to the Phantom. Think about what it's strong at and its strengths. Try to utilize them as much as possible, but you still have the discipline in place. But at the end of the day, people want to know, what gun do they use? Which one do they have to use? And here's what it's going to depend on. The first one is, what is your personal preference? That's a really big one. You're going to be able to pick which weapon you want, and especially in ranked, there are strengths and weaknesses to both, so pick the one you prefer. 2, agent choice is going to matter here. If you have an escape like Jet or Chamber, all of a sudden the off-angle one-tap ability of the Vandal and your ability to get out gets an increase in power level. That doesn't mean you have to use these weapons. It's just something that these characters can utilize that other characters might not be able to. Or let's say you're Viper, having a Phantom that allows you to spray in and around your toxic pit or all of your smokes is something that is incredibly powerful, and that's why the majority of controller players actually use the Phantom instead. It's also perfectly okay to not just one-trick these weapons. It's fine to sometimes use a Phantom and sometimes use a Vandal. In fact, I would suggest practicing with both, because you never know when you're going to be playing that eco round, kill an enemy with an eco weapon, and you're going to pick up their weapon, and it's the one that you don't normally use. Still got to use it, still got to be comfortable with it, and it's good to know how a gun feels in whatever situation you're trying, like whether you're challenging from long range or trying to push. Even if it's not optimal, you still need to know exactly how the gun plays, how the gun feels, and at the end of the day, it's just what you make of it. But the GameLeap website is the best place to quickly dominate the opposition with in-depth advanced tips and tricks, VOD reviews, and so much more. Do yourself a favor and go check it out right now down below.